Metal Gear Solid has had some insane hands-on by many people, and I got you guys covered. We already covered some insider information. There were 2 different days for this hands-on. One of them was for the media, and we got some juicy information from them. And the second was the general public. We're going to start off with the general public and get into some conversations about what was showcased and what was done. Everything that we've seen in the Tokyo Game Show is pretty much what you're gonna get for this preview. You're not gonna get late game or mid game content. It was pretty much the introduction of the game, and a lot of fun stuff as far as impressions have been expressed online, and I'm gonna definitely cover that. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment if this is informative and you want more. Stick around. All right, so here we go. First things first. Yes, it is looking like this game is playing very well, and people are actually really into it deeply. And it seems like we're going to be getting a lot more previews for the rest of the month leading up to the release. You can bet on it. Basically, we're going to get some good times as we go forward. So, I wanted to kind of just take a moment and look at some of the clips and footage and things online before I go deeper into some of the impressions and conversations. So we have a couple of different people, and I'll showcase some of this here briefly. Definitely love what we saw. You have Maddie, Metal Gear Collection, very cool video that they basically showcased some of the pop-up merch that you could get there, exclusive items. Very nice. And I love it. This was probably the best um just display of some of the stuff that they're selling that you can get. And I like that. And then of course another guy named Peter. He took some pictures. We're gonna showcase some of these pictures, and I have the best ones locked in. And then we'll just talk about it right now and kind of go through some of these photos, give you guys visuals so you can see it for yourself. Some of what it's already here. So you can see this is kind of the location of where everything was taking place at, how it all played out. People just walking around, kind of, engaging, looking at the display. Very cool, boss style setup. So I'm gonna kind of run through some of the images. There's a couple of merchandise images and things like that. This is the poster. This is an amazing poster. I wouldn't mind this. I don't do a lot of posters in my house. I don't have any in my house that are like actual gaming wise, but yeah. So Dustin and a couple of other journalists. This was the journalist day. They got their hands on. They got way more details and information than the public did. We'll get into what they said in a minute, but they're under embargo as well, by the way. And that embargo drops on August 22nd, and I'll be covering it as well, so be ready for that. We got our homeboy Fingers with the legendary David Haters. Fingers with Lauren, aka the boss. And then this is concept art. Just some more random pictures that I scattered from Twitter and different platforms. This is the voice actor who's on my channel. He's actually been the best of the best covering Snake. If you want to go watch some of my first videos, he's the voice actor that I got. He's the best. I recommend anybody to hire him. And so these are just a few images as we went along for this event, kind of showcasing to you what was there. This was some really cool cinematics of the final scene where boss is talking with you, the player. And I love that. I thought it was pretty amazing for them to bring that into the game as far as the presentation, stuff like that. So now we're going to get into some of the juicy stuff that you're probably here for. Shout out to the social media people that we just showcased. Go and follow them or anything like that on their platforms. I want to talk about the journalist side. The people that I've talked to and worked with in the past, they're professionals. They're not going to leak any secret information. So it sounds like Konami gave them extra information about plans and things like that. We did get information that they probably also got, which was the multiplayer is going to be delayed until for the fall. This is a good thing. We got a video covering the multiplayer later. Today is all about actual story and experience. So the insider and multiple insiders that I had conversations with already basically were stating that, the game played very well. You can choose through PC or PlayStation. They chose PlayStation, some of them, most of them, and they had a really good time with the enhancements parts of it. This is something every person said basically. Enhancements are so profound compared to the original that it's really, really awesome to experience that. And what they mean by enhancements is visual fidelity, the characters' faces, the details is very, very well made. And we're watching some of the cutscenes and like things in the background, but it just really, really goes to show, we've come a long way. The second part of that was the mechanics. They said that it didn't feel exactly like the Phantom Pain, but it had some bullet drops, which is something Ground Zeroes has. They talked about, being able to maneuver in the modern day. Now, some of these people are not hardcore Metal Gear fans, so they're probably used to modern day controls, but they don't realize, this was an older game and they had over the top camera, they had different control schemes. Metal Gear's always been a weird game as far as mechanically, control wise. But once you get used to it, you really flow and it feels good. And they talked about how it felt modern and it felt like they could just pick it up and play, even if they didn't play the series ever. And some people never played it, and their impressions and feelings were that this is something that they want to get into. They're in the story now. They're immersed in the story. A couple people were upset because Konami basically kicked them out because they were skipping the cutscenes and trying to get as far as possible. And they were only allowing people up to a certain point. The point that you're watching here when you get to these buildings is the point where they supposedly cut people off from playing. Okay, this is the regular public. There's a difference between what the actual media got to play. They played way more, and they can't talk about their experience outside of this public part of it because they're under embargo. And I will not break their embargo either, even if they shared certain things. That we're not a leaking channel, by the way. We respect the hard work for every developer. I have multiple channels covering different games. I would never want to hurt someone's career by, leaking out something. Just not the way. But with that being said, they basically, hinted at, some fun new elements, which is something the public also talked about, whether it's finding the different ducks, the yellow ducks. You got the frogs that are green, and then you have ducks that you can find throughout the world. But a lot of the hardcore fans that I've had a chat with that did play basically expressed that it's a one-to-one game for the most part, as far as like level design and placement of, for example, these crocodiles and things of that nature that you would expect maybe changed. They did not. And remember, nobody played the full game. So if you take this and you play 10 hours and then you say, oh, they changed this cutscene or they changed, of course, maybe they will. And I actually welcome it as long as it's not hurting the experience. Personally, with Twin Snakes, they did a remake. They changed a couple of the cutscenes. Kojima wanted more dramatic metal, Matrix style backflips and stuff. People hated that. I didn't mind it, and I didn't think it was a big deal. Not something that I'm like, oh, the game's broken. It was just a cutscene that made Snake look like a cyborg, basically. But to kind of continue what was said, they basically were like, it feels like a one-to-one recreation, and that they really nailed a lot of elements to it. Was asking about the FPS. They couldn't give me an exact number. So didn't want to just kind of pull teeth too much. I wanted people to just share what they allowed. And the public folks also weren't professional, so they didn't really even know about any of that stuff. There was one person who said they wanted to continue taking pictures, is that it was a dream for them. And as you can see, this photo mode is going to let you do some crazy stuff. I'm not really a photo taker, but I will be doing this it and testing it out. So if you're an expert, feel free to hit me up. I need a team of Metal Gear fans to have some fun and get some cool stuff going for the series. But those are some of the elements. Now, I want to kind of touch on little really specific things that like an individual person was saying more or less in their experience. And one person said that they hated the traditional camera. They tried it and they're like, this sucks. And I don't agree. I think the reason the Metal Gear's over the top was fun because it was a suspense thing and you're like very dangerous, right? Like you're going to stealth, but it feels like a little bit of horror, a little suspense, and not know where to look. New cameras, which have been around for 20 years now, you know, are very useful and you had a lot of freedom. But for me personally, that take was more so like modern day mentality, not a bad feature. I'm gonna replay it with the classic camera at some point. Of course, I'm gonna try all the new mechanics first. It's a remake, but then I'll go back and try out the classic way. And I think we all should give that, if we're hardcore fans, a chance. But I understand Konami's wanting to introduce it to new players, so they brought what was modern to us now because part 3 got it later on with Subsistence, and part 4, 5, all the other games got the free roam camera. So I didn't look at that as a negative. One other person was talking about how they jumped into the mud and they kind of had that stealth camo and they picked up a lot of in the short amount of time that they played, they picked up a lot of achievements, just easy ones. For example, getting in the mud and extra camo at 95%, you know, things of that nature. They said that was pretty cool to feel like, oh wow, I'm completing some things and going forward. Another person talked about the compass and they said that was something that they didn't see in the original game, but they thought it was interesting, maybe for a new player or something. I kind of like it without the compass, but we'll see how that functions. You know, I'm not very biased about new mechanics, guys. I love when a game tries to be different, do something new. So for me, I'm happy with that. As far as the other side of the coin, when it comes to just mechanical button schemes, nobody could give me a correct answer on where the buttons were. Somebody told me circle was to crouch. And I was like, wait, what? And they said R1 was to, I'm sorry, R2 was to grab enemies and also to shoot, which is traditional, kind of what they're doing. I just need to see the control scheme myself. Unfortunately, I didn't go to this event. I had a reserve for being able to be a part of it. I would have definitely stayed there all day and kind of got all the information I could. Unfortunately, I did not. And, you know, we'll see. I'll talk to Konami and see if they can give me the privilege and the honor to review this before it releases. And I'll got you guys covered big time when that comes out. Pretty sure I'll get it early. With that being said, outside of that, overall, there wasn't any negative like performance wise or cinematic wise on anything so far. I was asking about the difficulty. Somebody explained that it sounds like it's the same exact setup as the previous game. Do you like MGS1? Do you like MGS2? You know, those questions in the beginning of the game, and then you have the difficulty. The developers, though, they said that this was before, this is already old news, but he said that they had to change the difficulty of the game because the way they created the AI, and the new camera angle made the game feel easier. So they wanted to kind of make it a little more of a challenge. We see it a little bit because sometimes the AI kind of spots you from further out and things like that. So I'm not sure how that's going to function, but I'm excited. I would have tested all this myself and gave you guys a full breakdown on it and help you know exactly what's happening. But this is what we got so far. And it was pretty good information as far as like just that it's solid, right? That's all I cared about. It was like, okay, we don't have bugs, glitches, exploits. If people came back and they're like, it's buggy, I would be pretty sad because it's one of the greatest games ever. And it would have broke my heart. But luckily, all the news points to non-buggy, no, glitches, and possibly very well-made remake course, we got to get our hands on it and give you guys the feedback when the time comes. I'm grateful for your time and your energy, and I'm definitely going to cover more of this. There's some people that I'm sitting down with. I'm asking them to record the conversation, and we're going to probably do a live stream of that as well when you get a chance. Right now, I hope you enjoyed this. If you want more, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment. I'm going to be covering this heavily, and go watch that next one where I talk deep dive into the MGO plus the other insider information. Check it out.